The Pentagon announced yesterday that it is not considering paying back service members who were discharged for refusing to take the COVID shot. Well, the National Defense Authorization Act that was recently signed by President Biden last month specifically ended the military shot mandate. That's good news. The bad news is that we already had some 8,400 service members who were forced out of the military. And so in response, we now have some Republican lawmakers who have introduced a bill called the Vaccine Mandate Reenlistment Act. It's designed to help create some sort of pathway to enable these service members to get back in the military and to deal with the whole discharge that they experience for noncompliance. And I guess the question is this bill going to be enough? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Mike Berry. He's a senior counsel for First Liberty Institute. He's also a former Marine, and he served as an adjunct professor of law at the United States Naval Academy. Mike, welcome back to Washington Watch. We appreciate all that you have done and you continue to do.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always great to be on Washington Watch.
Well, look, it seems as though the Pentagon yet again is dragging its feet and rather reluctantly considering accommodating and even lifting the mandate itself. I mean, it was in the NDA last month, but there's just a reluctance going on. What do you take of all this?
Yeah, it's disappointing, but it's not surprising. You know, we've known from the very beginning that the Pentagon has been all in on this vaccine mandate, regardless of whether or not the vaccine violates the sincere religious beliefs of service members. We know that the Pentagon has granted hundreds, possibly thousands of medical and administrative exemptions, yet they've granted a fraction of a percent of religious accommodations from the vaccine mandate. So that pretty much tells us that it's the Pentagon doesn't care whether or not somebody in the military is vaccinated. What they care about is the reason that person objects to the vaccine. If they have a medical or administrative reason why they can't get the vaccine, yeah, those are people are fine. They can continue to serve. They'll promote. They'll get their retirement. They'll get their benefits. But if the reason why a service member doesn't get the vaccine is because of a religious objection, we know that they have a massive target on their back, and the Pentagon wants them out. And despite the positive first step that you just said, Jody, that the NDAA required the Secretary of Defense to rescind the vaccine mandate, we have evidence that we're presenting in court as we speak at First Liberty Institute that the Pentagon continues to look for loopholes to punish and take adverse action against our service members.
That just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to the American people that we are treating our service members like this. And I know as a member of Congress, we were inundated with complaints from military personnel who had been kicked out for one. But what you just described, the number one issue that absolutely was denied and refused virtually, if not 100% of the time, was a religious exemption request. And I want to play a clip, Mike, and I want to get your reaction. Of course, we've got top military brass saying that there's going to be no consideration for back pay for any of the soldiers who are dismissed for not receiving the shot. Here's a clip from Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder yesterday at a Defense Department press briefing. I want you to see this.
Right now, we are not pursuing, as a matter of policy, back pay for those who refused the vaccine. At the time that those orders were refused, it was a lawful order. And so I'll just leave it at that. If and when there are any updates to provide, we'll be sure to do that.
All right, we're just going to leave it at that. All right, so the question to you, thank you so much for your efforts in all of this, but what efforts are underway right now to hopefully correct some of this mess?
Well, the main effort that I'm happy to talk about is First Liberty Institute's representation, starting with 35 Navy SEALs. We won the first injunction in the country challenging the DoD's vaccine mandate when the Navy was denying all religious accommodation requests. We then expanded that into a class action, so we now represent we're protecting over 4,000 sailors. And we have an oral argument coming up at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So this is very much still a live issue. You know, the Pentagon wants to think and wants the American people to believe, oh, we repealed the mandate. We did the right thing. This case is over. The case is far from over, Jody. We still have a long ways left to go to get justice for our service members. And I take issue with what the general said when he said, you know, oh, we believe that this was a lawful order when it was issued. Guess what, General? The courts disagree with you. The courts have said you are violating the Constitution and federal law, DOD, when you denied these service members the religious accommodations that they're entitled to.
Bingo. Listen, we're all in your camp. Thank you for what you and First Liberty are doing. These service members need you in their court right now. They need all of us. In fact, Republicans in the House right now are working on the Vaccine Mandate Reenlistment Act, which would provide a pathway for some of these service members to come back. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a great next step. It's a necessary next step, right? To ensure, I mean, let's just do the basic math. The DOD is probably going to say the reason why we can't look at back pay is because it's too expensive. It's going to cost the taxpayers too much money. Well, I've got news for the Pentagon. It cost American taxpayers $17,500 just to recruit one service member. Then you add tens of thousands of more to get that recruit through basic training, boot camp, et cetera. And then if it's a special forces member like our Navy SEALs that we represent, you're talking well into the hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars to get them the specialized training that they need. And you're kicking them out. That's what the Department of Defense wants to do, is kick them out. Do the math. And then you have to double that, because for every single Navy SEAL that you kick out, let's say it cost $1 million to recruit, train, and get a Navy SEAL ready to do their mission. If you kick them out, you're now talking $2 million, because you have to pay that much to recruit their replacement. So it's going to cost the American taxpayer, and it's going to cost our nation, our national security, way more to kick out these brave service members than it ever will be to just keep them in and restore them to where they were.
Mike Berry, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Washington Watch and keeping us informed on this critical issue.
Well, thanks for having me, and please continue to stay informed at our website, firstliberty.org. We'll provide updates there pretty much up to the minute.